What's up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I am Rockin Robbie Billups, and it is time for the Rex and Robbie Show. And today we're going to be talking about our favorite television shows of 2022. And that includes streaming services and all that stuff. Basically anything that's not a feature-length film, episodic television. Y'all know what we're talking about. But we can't have the Rex and Robbie Show without Rex. So, Rex, what's up, my man?
What's going on, Robbie? We got OUG in the house, Two Gun Pedro. What's going on, buddy? Pew pew. And then John Spilios. Listen, you can go ahead and lie to me and Rob and say you took the day off from work and just to watch us, and you don't need to tell us the truth, bro. See, that last sentence ruined it all, John Spilios. Come on, man. Just leave that last sentence off, and we're good, right?
Yeah, we could use the ego boost here on a Friday morning, afternoonish type area or whatever. So how you doing, Rex? Now, before we went live, I know you were really excited to talk about last night's Thursday night game and the performance of Baker Mayfield.
I was just telling Robbie, I thought it was going to be a snooze fest. I had the game on. I was actually reading a book going like, yeah, it's going to be a typical Thursday night game. Drive of the order. I'm going to tell you that was a very exciting to watch. I happen to be I know Mayfield. Hey, Cerebros, Eddie Runner, Matt Baker. What's going on, guys? I've been a Baker Mayfield fan since the beginning, and I know he's had a rough road and he's been controversial and yada, yada, yada. He's too short. He's this, he's that. And I think last night, the guy got off a plane. He had 24 hours to prep, brand new team, new offensive scheme, the whole 9 yards. Matt, what's going on, man? And he goes in there and he does what he does. And I love the Baker Mayfield commercials that were on way too much, I admit. But it was nice to see him get there because all of a sudden you had, albeit the Rams have had a very, very rough season with injuries and everything else, and Stafford being, who knows if it's going to be a career-ending injury, whatever the case may be, but he's definitely out for the season. Lackluster results, facing mathematical elimination to postseason yesterday. And Mayfield comes out and does this. And the question becomes now, let's look at Mayfield's history. Drafted by the Browns first. Browns, good running game, nothing against Nick Chubb, whatever, okay? But no real receivers. Goes to Panthers, who we all know is just a flaming hot mess and has been, okay? And no real receivers there. And then I go back and think of all the Mayfield games I've watched. I certainly watched a lot of Browns games when his first, second seasons. How many drop passes? How many passes did he put there and then the receiver didn't come up with it? Now, all of a sudden, you put him around a Super Bowl caliber offense with good receivers. He doesn't have any time to read the playbook, really study. How much can you study? It's like a cram session, right? And he runs the 2-minute offense there and drives the ball, 90-some yards? I mean, that was crazy. Puts it where it's supposed to be. Now, granted, the Raiders made a whole lot of mistakes. 2 critical penalties on that last drive. The one was they looked like they picked Mayfield off, but it was pass interference. Raul, sorry, that's the only sport I don't understand. Actually, cricket. I've watched it a few times. And again, maybe that was a good foul. Because I don't know, they were playing man-to-man on that play. I don't know. There was like one corner that was out there that maybe could have made a stop. But so maybe that was a good play to pass interfere. Otherwise, he catches that. Because I think he's got it. The way that ball was thrown, the pattern he was running, I think he could have caught it and gone all the way, right? But then the second penalty was really stupid. I forget who it was. Somebody on the D-line. They sacked Mayfield. I mean, it was a good sack. Walks over, and Mayfield's trying to rush to the line, right? And he knocks the ball out of Mayfield's hand. Oh, that was stupid. Yeah. So that gave the Rams first down again and kept the drive alive. So from that perspective, I think the Raiders didn't help themselves, and certainly this season we've seen they can be up and then they just cough up the lead and lose the game.
They're one of the most penalized teams in the league, period.
Oh my God, it was brutal.
Right? So yeah.
The Raiders were just awful. That's a coaching issue.
Mayfield looked great, and obviously that's the big talk this morning on the sports talk shows and the radio shows and all that stuff. But on the flip side of that, the Raiders really, kind of like did everything they could to help him out. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Well, the last play, the touchdown pass, they were playing man-to-man, which seemed really strange at that point in time, right? Because all you're really doing is all you got to do is not cough up the touchdown because they need a touchdown to win, right? So they can drive, they can get into field goal territory. Who cares? You play zone, okay? You dare them to throw it, and they're playing man to man, pressing the box. I mean, well, I don't get it. Two Gun Pedro, I got to agree with that, dude. They are a hot mess, overrated. Josh McDaniels has not turned out to be the savior that everybody thought he was going to be. And for years and years, he didn't take head coaching positions, staying with the Patriots, but whatever. Certainly, they haven't had a whole lot of since moving to Las Vegas, they haven't had a whole lot of equilibrium, if you will, the whole Gruden thing. And now that's going to turn out to be the final nail in the coffin of Dan Snyder's NFL ownership, which is a good thing, I guess. But, ultimately the Raiders have not been as advertised. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's been a while since we had a good proper sports segue here in the beginning of one of these Rex and Robbie shows,
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And it's not the Eagles or Dallas, which is interesting.
Exactly.
Dude, I got to tell you, that fourth quarter was awesome. I sat there reading the book, just kept it on as kind of like background noise, like white noise. And then all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, what's going on here, man? What?
Those are some of the best kind of games where it draws your attention away from whatever else you're doing, right?
Yeah.
One of your
all of a sudden it was 16 to what was it? It was 10-3, and then all of a sudden I could just see it. I could see the possibility of them coming back, man.
Now, definitely one of Rex's favorite TV programs of this year has not been Thursday Night Football, because most of those games have been pretty boring, regardless of how he just ranted and raved about how awesome the end of that game was last night.
That was only one quarter and one drive, actually, that made it really exciting. So it was a snooze fest.
We are here to talk about our favorite TV shows of the year. That includes streaming services, or if it's on network. None of my stuff is on network. Like I don't watch many network shows anymore. I don't watch many shows, right? So we're going to throw out our list of what we've seen. Now, me and Rex, neither of us, we're busy men. We don't have time to watch every single show that we would like to. So there's a lot of shows we haven't seen. So we want to know what your favorites are as well. Toss them out. Maybe you can inspire us to check them out, because when I was looking at some of these lists to kind of remind myself what came out this year, I'm like, I haven't seen any of these shows. You know what I'm saying? So we're just going to go into what we've seen, right, Rex?
Yeah. Well, actually, we probably should have had John Cole on this show.
He's seen everything. 80
times. Of course he has. He has nothing else to do. Right?
Exactly. So why don't you kick us off, Rex?
All right. So here's how I compiled my list. Just like Robbie, I haven't had the opportunity to watch everything. So there are things that I want to watch. So I've broken up my list into like two categories. Things I genuinely thought, at least of the ones that I watched, that I thought were my top. Actually, I got 6, not 5. Then there are 3 that are, how do I put this? At the forefront, heavily marketed, heavily pushed, heavily talked about, which I got to tell you, I didn't really, all right. So those are 3 that I have on my list that are not, I'm not panning them, but they didn't turn out to be as advertised, like Thursday Night Football. Okay. Kind of like, So, all right. So first and foremost, I'm going to go out with the one I've talked about endlessly now since it's come out. I can't believe it was actually 2002. So I had to check that out. But of course, Peacemaker. Okay. I was totally surprised by it. And it was something I just kind of watched, and it's rare. I'm not a binger, and it's rare that I will follow every episode as soon as it's released, unless I really, really like it. And Peacemaker was one of those shows. And I applaud Netflix for the way they dropped it. What was it? They dropped 4 episodes at a time, right? Or something like that. Okay. But it was multiple. Right. I found out the 1 episode at a time really annoys me. They're too short. Like She-Hulk was a little annoying in that respect. But yeah, Peacemaker was. I applaud James Gunn. It was John Cena. Even the opening, okay, I think it's fantastic. With the dancing and the singing, and it's one of those I thought was wow. That's unusual.
It's one of those openings that you don't skip.
Oh, HBO Cerebros. You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Peacemaker's a great show. Peacemakers. How do you want to do this? Do you want to go through yours and then go to mine, or you want to alternate? What do you want to do? You want to alternate?
We always alternate, so let's alternate.
Yeah, let's alternate one of mine, and mine are in no particular order, but Peacemaker. I just got to agree with you there. I love that show. Now, I'm a big James Gunn fan, right? as anybody here knows. However, I thought his Suicide Squad was just okay. Like, I didn't think it was bad. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good, but it wasn't to me like Slither or his Guardians movies or anything like that, right? Peacemaker blew me away. I was not expecting much out of the show. I thought it might be overly silly. I thought he would have like, an influence on the show in the direction, but I didn't think he was going to be so involved. He was heavily involved. He's got a great cast of characters around Peacemaker. John Cena is able to give us not just a comedic performance, but like a performance like that's got action and it's got drama, right? So it's got comedy, action, drama all together. Cena pulls it off really, really well. Everybody around him. I love Vigilante in that show. I think it's top notch. The music, it is 110% James Gunn's influence on that show, and the performances. I thought it blew me away because it went from silly to serious, and it had nuance, one of my favorite words. But I'll agree with you. Peacemaker's on my list for sure.
And I want to defend Gunn in terms of Suicide Squad, because you have to remember. You remember years ago, they in Italy somewhere they had they had like a mural of or something like that of the Virgin Mary, the Madonna, and then they had somebody that's supposed to be an expert and came to like kind of retouch it. And it was a disaster, right? She looked like a chimpanzee. It was just horrible and made all the news, whatever. And somebody had to come along and fix that, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt about Gunn and Suicide Squad. They made the one. Everybody hated it. They bring in Gunn. We need you to make it again. Fix it. So I want to say that he was kind of handcuffed there in the sense, and obviously I'm a big fan of Gunn's, but he was handcuffed there because somebody had already screwed up screwed up the Virgin Mary and made her look hard. So he had to go in and not only fix it, but make it something people wanted to see. So given that the task that he was presented, I feel like he did a really good job, right? Because you already had a preconceived notion. Why DC did this several times, I don't know why. Like with Justice League, whatever. Oh, they didn't like it. Let's just redo the whole thing. No, it's gone. It's past. It's like move on. But Peacemaker was his ability to really take his spin on it, and he did a phenomenal job. Who would have thought? I really did not have high hopes. It was just something I was going to watch. I happened to be at home and everybody's talking. Oh, it's good, and I'm like, okay, I'll take a shot. And then the next thing you know, I'm eagerly awaiting the next drop of episodes. From week to week. So that's got to be out of the year. I got to say my favorite.
Yeah, because I had heard so many people. I came in late on the show too. It was, I think I didn't start watching it till it had just wrapped up, because I had heard everybody talk about how good it was, and I was like, I'll check it out eventually. But once I started, I did not want to stop at all. So Peacemaker, and Eagly's one of my favorite characters in a TV series this year. So there you go. What else you got, buddy?
All right. So next up, I'm going to save my sleepers, if you will, maybe less known for the end. All right. So I know not everybody enjoyed it, but I really enjoyed Obi-Wan Kenobi. I liked it. There were parts I didn't like. His loss of powers at the beginning and kind of just trying to blend into the background. So there were portions that I want to say I didn't like, but overall, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I'm glad I watched it. There's always going to be a nostalgia feel for anything Star Wars for me. So, so I got to say that definitely in my top 5, Obi-Wan Kenobi is one.
It didn't make my top 5, but I did like Obi-Wan. I liked it overall. There's some things about it I didn't like. I can't even remember the character of the lady who was one of the Inquisitors who was like going after him. And there was a lot of kind of clunkiness around that character for me.
I kind of agree. Yeah. It was not as good as it could have been.
Yeah,
but still overall, I walked away with, very positive about it.
All of the Obi-Wan Vader stuff, I loved like so much. In fact, I think you could go into that Obi-Wan show and cut together a really good, like 2-hour movie.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And it would really hit. And I think it hit hard. The next one I want to talk about is Sandman. I thought Sandman was spectacular. I had a lot of worries about Sandman because it's one of my favorite comic series. I think it's one of the greatest comic series. It's one of those comics that I think is just pure literature. You know what I'm saying? It's something that can be studied. It's something that can be taught. It's something that has many layers that develop and evolve over the years of meaning. Neil Gaiman knocked it out of the park with that book, with all of his collaborators. His heavy involvement in this show kept it very true to its source. They did make some changes, but the changes didn't bother me as much. I don't think the diner episode is as good as the diner issue in the comic. I think that some of the stuff, but I like how they were tying some of it together, tying that thread of the Corinthian through, picking up some of stuff that Gaiman did in Overture, right? So I really liked some of the changes. Other of the changes didn't bother me, I guess I should say. It's not going to hold a candle to the original because that is one of the masterworks of the medium of comics. But the Sandman show to me, I thought was really good. Great performances. And the dude who played Morpheus killed it. Blew me away. So did the dude that did the Corinthian. I really liked that one. So I liked Sandman a lot. That's on my list.
I have to be honest. I haven't gotten the Sandman yet. And Cobra Kai. I know a lot of people mentioned Cobra Kai. Haven't been able to get to it. I want to. I mean, I've watched Cobra Kai previous seasons. I really enjoyed it. Again, that nostalgia kind of touch to it. Sandman is just, I want to watch it. It's just on that list. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's on the backlog, right?
Yeah, exactly. The backlog, if you will. Farhan, hey, from Malaysia. Thanks for joining us, buddy. John Spilios. Yeah, I got to think you're the only one, buddy. OUG. I saw your mentions there. We'll get to them. One of them's kind of on my list. I'll explain later.
Yeah, you mentioned some that are on my list too.
All right, so I'll get the more well-known ones out of the way. So next up for me was She-Hulk. I know it was, again, another controversial thing, but I think Alec put it best, right? Our buddy AR. If you took it for what it was, superhero sitcom, and just let yourself go, and just watch it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was lighthearted. The scenes, the cameos by Daredevil were nice, but you had to take it for what it was. Now whether they accomplished the goal or not, I don't know. Obviously, a lot of people didn't like that format. They didn't enjoy that format. I kind of liked it. I really liked the format that they worked, and I thought it was experimental. It was at least something new, something interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can dig what you're saying. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Many of my friends enjoyed it. We had we did a show where we would watch the episode and then we would gather that night and talk about it. And we had some interesting conversations. Man, that was one of my favorite parts of the She-Hulk show, was having those conversations. And some of my friends like Steph and Brooks, they loved the show as well. Me personally, I didn't really like the show. I think overall it was kind of disappointing to me. So it just wasn't my cup of tea, but I didn't mind watching it and discussing it all the time. Out of all the Marvel shows, my definite favorite this year was Miss Marvel, but even that kind of lost its way towards the end. So I don't know. Next one I got on my list is one that we were just talking about, Cobra Kai. Holy cow, Cobra Kai. I love that show so much. I grew up a huge fan of The Karate Kid. That movie came out in 1984. So when I was like first conscious of movies, we had that on VHS, right? And that was one I watched over and over. That along with like Gremlins and Ghostbusters. Those were like, and Back to the Future. Those were like my first favorite movies. Has a big impression on me. And Cobra Kai has just nailed it. They have nailed this. So many properties try to do this remake type thing where they take classic legacy characters from the original property, try to recreate it with new characters and mesh it all together. So many properties are trying to do that with varying degrees of success. Cobra Kai has never let me down, focusing so much on characters like Johnny Lawrence outside of just Daniel LaRusso. I care about these kids. It's wild. It's ridiculous. It's preposterous. They are literally having like karate fights, like giant karate battles at school and at the arcade and all kinds. It's ridiculous. It's like the most bonkers episode of Power Rangers without the giant robots and the giant monsters. But it works for me. It works for me so well. And this season, the spotlight on Chosen, the villain, I can't remember his name. Why can I not remember the dude's freaking name with the ponytail? Oh my God. Somebody please help me out. Why can I not think of his name? Not Kreese, but the other guy. Silver, Terry Silver. Silver.
Yeah.
They killed it. The whole reason why I enjoyed this, in addition to everything else, And I thought it was structured really well because they left us on a cliffhanger and they kind of had to deal with that and then get into the push of the season. I loved all the characters' journeys. I love Johnny Lawrence's story, but Silver and Chosen nailed it for me. I love Cobra Kai. One of my favorites every year.
You know, I haven't watched this season. I'm sorry to say that. Now, I started watching obviously when it was on YouTube. So what I love about this is that, and you know, I don't want to say this the wrong way, but it's really interesting because the cast of actors, regardless of where they were in their career during that time, had varying kind of trajectories, you know, and their careers went certain places. You know, Ralph Macchio made My Cousin Vinny, you know, so it looked like he had an upward trajectory for a while, and then, you know, you didn't hear from him for a while. The other various actors like Kreese, obviously the actor who plays Kreese, yeah, you know, his career kind of went nowhere. Terry Silver thought he was going to be a martial arts guy. His kind of character, you know, the actor kind of, his career kind of went nowhere. And it kind of, and Johnny, of course, as well. And this gave them the ability to come back to this franchise. And as you say, it worked. It's preposterous on the one level, you know. I mean, you know, it's like a one of those 70s martial arts movies, you know, people just walking down the street, you know, a martial arts fight breaks out all of a sudden, you know.
Exactly, right.
Like I saw a Bruce Lee biopic or something that they made, and you know, and Bruce Lee's in the diner talking to Itman, I think, you know, and all of a sudden, they're in a diner and he looks out the window and there's some dude in his karate gi. Who the hell walks around in the street in their karate gi, right?
Right.
You know, and then Bruce goes out and of course has a fight with him. It's like, dude, really? I mean, would he be in street clothes? I mean, seriously, okay. You know, you're in the middle of the city, dude, walking bare feet. What about the broken glass, bro? You know, it just, but somehow Cobra Kai makes that work. And the fact that it started on YouTube is kind of like almost I guess you can kind of call it a fan project almost.
Yeah,
you know, I mean,
it had that feel to it, especially in the beginning, right?
Yeah, and then it blows up, and then, you know, the next thing you know, they pick it. You know, what is it? Is it Netflix? Yeah, it's Netflix, right?
Yeah, it's Netflix.
Netflix picks it up, and it just goes nuts, and that's a great story, and they were able to bring back Elizabeth Shue was in there, but you know, the fact that they're able to bring all these people back, I think it's fantastic. I absolutely think it's and allowing you to suspend reality, like, okay. Yeah, so this high school has you know, complete riots every other day. That's normal, right?
It's great. I love it when you see the news bits and they're like these fights between rival karate gangs broke out in the school. It's like, what is this? This is what every kid in middle school in the 80s thought high school was going to be like in the 90s, but we were disappointed.
Oh, I thought it was going to be like Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
All right, what else you got then, man?
All right, so we got through that. All right, so this is one that I didn't even realize was based on a comic at first. Didn't hear anything about it, no buzz. Happened to be just, I think it was Netflix. I don't even remember. Maybe it was HBO. I don't even remember which streaming service. Just one of those kind of nights where you're surfing and then they give you suggestions and stuff based on other things you've watched. DMZ, that short miniseries, I started watching it and I'm like, oh wow, this is kind of cool. And it's very rare that I binge something, right? And all of a sudden I'm binging this thing. And I watched it to the end and then I'm like, oh, that's it? And whenever I walk away with feeling like, that's it, really? There's no more? That means I really liked it. And so DMZ was my sleeper. I did not, again, heard nothing about it, no buzz about it, just happened to stumble across it as one of the suggestions that Netflix gave me and decided, I got some time to kill, let me see it. And then watch the next episode and the next episode, you know, and then they caught me.
I haven't seen DMZ yet, and it's based on a Brian Wood comic, and but I haven't seen it yet. And I've heard mixed things from different people, right? And I had Rosario Dawson in it, right?
She was awesome. I felt like maybe, I don't know. I felt like it kind of could have gone a little bit more before they wrapped it up. But again, you know, then people complain, well, it went too long. They should have ended 2 episodes ago. You never know. But I've got to say that I was very happily surprised Did not see that one coming, so I was able to binge through that. So I highly recommend it. I think you'll enjoy it.
I really might have to check that out, especially since I haven't really. I think I read like maybe the first issue or two of the comic back in the day, but I haven't ever binged in it. I don't remember it, but I heard it is a little bit different than the comic. Next one I want to mention is House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon blew me away. I was not expecting anything out of the show. I wasn't even going to watch this show. I fell out of Game of Thrones like after 5 seasons. I just kind of fell out of it. And then seeing my friends who were still watching it every week, seeing their torture as their show slowly just turned into garbage before their eyes, I was like, well, I guess I got out at the right time. So when House of the Dragon started, I had no interest in watching this or diving back into that world. I've never read the books. I did like Game of Thrones when I first started watching it, but after hearing what happened and how it didn't really have to most people, the right impactful payoff that it should have, I was like, I'm not jumping into that. And then everybody was talking about how good the first episode was. And I went to work the next day and some people were talking about it. I was like, you know what? Let's check it out. And I was even like, why are y'all going back to this show that hurt y'all? It's like going back to the ex that was like mentally abusive to you, or it was just not good for you, or took all your money. You know what I'm saying? Going back to a bad ex. That's what it felt like was happening to me. But then I watched the first episode and I was like, damn, that was pretty good. Right? I guess I'll check out the next one. Then I watched the next one. I'm like, damn, that's pretty good. And then I kept watching. And then like it became the thing where I do a show on Sunday night, right? Rockin Robbie Live. So when I would get done with Rockin Robbie Live, I would go watch it. I don't do that. I don't go watch things as soon as possible. I'm not John Cole. I'm not staying up till 2 a.m. to watch, the next Marvel drop or whatever. Like, that's just not what I do anymore. I schedule what I want to do, right? But on that one, I was like, I had to watch it immediately. And I loved going to work the next day and talking about it. And we did an end of the year show or the end of the season show about it. And I just loved it. They do all these big time jumps, but it still has a cohesive story. It's got some of the best performances I've seen in a television show this year. Absolutely amazing. An Emmy for King Viserys, 100%. Like, holy cow. At a certain point, they jump enough time that they have to replace our 2 central figures who were younger in the beginning. And now they're not young. They're not old, but they're a little bit older. They had to recast them. I was really worried about recasting these 2 central characters halfway through, but it worked. It had some intense episodes. It had a very satisfying conclusion that set up what I hope is going to be a really great show. And I hope they can pull this one off, knowing that this whole thing has an ending already by George R.R. Martin. That gives me hope because they're not just like making it up as they go along. I really liked House of the Dragon. Blew me away.
So I got to about episode 3 and I have not gone back to it. And I got to be honest with you, that was on my heavily promoted TV series that maybe not as advertised. You seem to like it, so I'm going to go back. But I got to be honest, I got to episode 3 and just kind of lost interest. I really couldn't. So I haven't been watching it. But, my intent was always to kind of go back. But it kind of hasn't happened. I did enjoy episodes 1 and 2. It just felt like there was just, I don't know. There was just a little too much to kind of, and then I read about the cast changing, because of the time shifts. And I'm like, wow, this may be too complicated to go back to. So I don't know. Again, I enjoyed episode 1 and 2. 3, I think kind of lost me. So I never ended up going back. So I guess we'll see. I'll probably end up watching it again.
To reflect what people were saying in the chat, Matt Smith is amazing in this show as well.
I'm a huge Matt Smith fan. Yeah.
Like you've never seen a Matt Smith like this. Like, I love him. He's in The Crown. He's a great in The Crown as I think he played Philip, right? And of course I love his Doctor Who. This show has more of a focus on it. So unlike Game of Thrones, where there's all this stuff, like there's still a lot going on. It's still a complex plot and all these machinations going on about how to take the throne. But it has more of a central focus on a core of characters that I really thought connected me with it better. And it does get better as it goes. I think you should get back into it. But
I'm going to try to. I don't watch The Crown. I can't. But I love Matt Smith. First time I was introduced to him.
I forgot about your whole like anti-royal thing. I forgot about
Oh,
that.
no, I do. Do you want to hear the Rex rant? It's coming. It's coming. It's bubbling right below the surface. I love Matt Smith. At that point, I was watching religiously. I forget the actor. He always plays a bad guy. The very first incarnation of the modern day Doctor Who.
Christopher Eccleston?
Yes, I really enjoyed him. And then I think Matt Smith was the next Doctor Who, right?
It was David Tennant, then Matt Smith.
No, David Tennant, and then it was Matt Smith. That's right. David Tennant, I was okay with, but I felt like it was a step down from the original. But then when Matt Smith came in, I felt like it vaulted up. Really enjoyed his Doctor Who, and that's when they introduced what's her face, who's been in all the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, Karen Gillan. Yeah, yes. Amy Pond was the Matt Smith companion. Amy and Rory.
So when did Gillan come in?
That was Amy Pond. That's the Matt Smith stuff.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I really enjoyed that period. I forget who was the next Doctor Who after him.
After Matt Smith?
Yeah.
Peter Capaldi.
Can't remember how he looked. And then they started losing me a little
like
bit.
An older looking dude. I like Peter Capaldi. That was the last stuff. I haven't watched any of the Whittaker stuff. And then they had John Hurt there for a little bit as like a brief.
Yeah, I remember that. Awesome. I remember that.
Awesome.
So,
I like
again, I'm a huge Matt Smith fan, and I really enjoyed his enjoyed him in House of the Dragon because it was a completely different character from Doctor Who. So that was interesting to watch too. Just kind of him flexing his acting chops.
So we got a super chat from my buddy Manny, Nerdtastic News.
Cool.
What did the Royals do to you, Rex? Are they part of the vast conspiracy that caused them to cancel Batgirl?
Yeah. Yes, Nerdtastic, that's it. Hold on, where's my tin hat? No. I don't want to say I'm a fan of the Royals, but my mom was. Okay, so that has something to do with it. So my mom was always, even after she moved to the United States, was a huge, followed the royal family, was a huge fan of Queen Elizabeth. So, and I guess in a sense I was as well. And the reason for that was my mom grew up in Hong Kong, and Hong Kong was still a colony of the United Kingdom at the time. And, Hong Kong dollars at that time, Queen Elizabeth's face was printed on every dollar, every bill. So there was that heavy influence. So my mom would always follow anything quote unquote royal. So it's not the royal family I have a problem with. The institution, it's had its issue, whatever, through the years. The whole Princess Di thing, my mom was completely obsessed by that. But now with what's happening in there, the Harry and Meghan thing, whatever. So to me, that's why. It's not that I have a problem with the royal family. I have a problem with directions heading in, and then you put on this TV series, while all these people are still alive. Not feeling that at all. So I have not watched that, and I will not.
I okay.
Robbie's speechless.
What else you got, Rex?
All right. So then my other sleeper, which I think I may have mentioned before. So I have two more. Warrior Nun. Okay. Again, based on a comic. I did not see that coming. And that was something else I was binging. And I had watched the first season, enjoyed it. So when season 2 came around, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I just binged all of season 2. I like the acting. I like the characters. I thought they did a good job with them, but more than that, I really like the premise of the whole thing. They do really question the concept of God and all of that. And I thought it was well done. And it's not one that's gotten a lot of marketing help or, really pushed out there. But if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's entertaining. Thoughtful enough, but not so thoughtful that, say, like a House of the Dragon or one of my on the cusp Rings of Power. That's House of Dragon I thought was too complicated. Okay, Rings of Power becomes the difference between arithmetic and calculus. Okay, you're going through this, and I'm like, I've read the books, and dude, I can't do this, dude. It's 9:00 at night, man. I'm at the end of my day. I just want to chill and sit on the couch and watch something. You're making me think. I'd rather do, long division at this point. I mean, it was just like, what?
Yeah, Rings of Power. I only made it 3.5 episodes through. I don't know. I just couldn't connect with it, man. And I know people that, like my buddy Brooks is a big Tolkien fan. He's a Tolkien head like crazy.
I was too.
He loved it. He said by the time he got to the end, he loved it. But Brooks loves a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
maybe, I don't know, maybe with Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, I had already read the books years and years ago. So maybe as the movies came out, you know, I could remember it. But now you're presenting me with a new story. And I read the Silmarillion, but it doesn't really follow that. So it's just like, now you're making me think too much, dude. You know,
they don't have the rights to they don't have the rights to the Silmarillion. They have the rights to like a few of the appendices from like
right. No, I know. So it's not
randomly.
I know that, right? So it's not really that, but it's sort of that. But now you know, it's like I need to read the book first. Your universe is so complicated. I need to read the book first to kind of have like an outline or a guide to watching the movies. But you know, this one, it just lost me. I got maybe 3, just like you, 3 episodes in, and I'm like, this, what happened last time? I can't remember. Where's my notebook? It's like, that's not what I want to do, you know, when I'm watching TV.
Yeah, right. I can dig on that. I can dig on that for sure. All right. You talked about Warrior Nun. All right. So my last one here is probably one of my favorite ones of the year. And the only way that I just ruined it. The only way that this one has an edge maybe over House of the Dragon is that I can literally see the screen, because House of the Dragon has some really dark scenes where I'm like, I can't see what's going on. In particular, there was this bit with, I think it was, I'm forgetting their names now, but because it's been a while since I watched it, but Matt Smith and his niece are like walking on a beach, and I literally I couldn't see shit, dude. I couldn't see anything on the fucking screen. I had my lights off. I had all the settings right. Like I was just like, why can I not see anything? Anyway,
I read that there were a lot of complaints about some of the dark scenes, and then they retorted, that was artistically what we meant to do. Yeah. What? That your audience can't see anything?
We wanted you not to be able to see it. Exactly. However, a show that does have some darkness into it, but I can clearly see everything on the screen, was Stranger Things. Stranger Things. Now, I have loved Stranger Things all 4 seasons. I know a lot of people don't like 2 or 3, and I think 2 and 3 have some issues. They're obviously not comparable to 1. 4 was the first time I think they've gone back to something that was as impactful as season 1. I adored this season of Stranger Things. I really feel like they had everything figured out. I think they took time to figure it out, and it's evident in what's going on. It had ups and downs. It had unexpected twists and turns. It blew me away. All the Vecna stuff, all that lore, how they built everything up. It has all these references to things like Nightmare on Elm Street and other, you know, Stranger Things is a sum of its parts on its influences. You know what I'm saying? And this one gets into that Elm Street, Wes Craven type vibe, introducing new characters that are automatically some of the best characters in the entire franchise, like Eddie. Holy cow, epic, huge, great special effects, great use of dark scenes, but I can still see everything on the screen. Great use of moving these characters' progression forward and playing with these dynamics and keeping it fresh. And I can't remember the dude's name, but the stoner pizza dude, introducing him, like elements of comedy, everything. There were moments in the season where a lot of the cast got separated, but then they tie it all together. I thought it was absolutely amazing, epic in scope, and I'm so pumped for season 5. So Stranger Things is probably my favorite of the year, I would say.
All right. I have to be honest. I have not watched that series at all. I've heard some good things about it, so I may pick it up. But my list is getting pretty long of things I got to catch up on. But
right, the never-ending backlog.
Yeah, the backlog is getting bigger and bigger. So I'm going to throw out my last 2 all at once. All right. So these are, I really enjoyed it so far, but we'll see where it goes. So one is His Dark Materials, and it was based on Golden Compass, that movie from years and years ago.
Yeah,
it's a darker take on it, but it's been interesting. It's keeping me engaged, and it's not super complicated, you know, that you have to think too much about the plot line. And then one that just came out, and there have only been 2 episodes that I've watched so far, and I don't know if I'm drawn to it out of a sense of nostalgia, or I'm drawn to it because the first 2 episodes were pretty good, was Willow, believe it or not. I have to say, you know, we've talked about episodes, shows like Moon Knight and how great Oscar Isaac was. Believe it or not, this one may actually be the opposite. The I forget his name, but the actor that plays Willow, he's aged beautifully. Okay, he looks older, but not that much older for the original movie. But I don't know. I just noticed, and now they show clips from the original movie as part of the episodes, and I'm thinking, dude, he's not a very good actor. I don't know what it is.
What are you talking about? He was Professor Flitwick in Harry Potter. Come on, man.
Yeah. Now I think about it. Yeah, he really wasn't a very good actor. I don't know, man. Maybe it gets better. Thank you, Matt Barker. But I remember sitting there watching it, and I enjoyed the episode, and I enjoyed the other characters and stuff. I thought the acting was relatively good. And I'm thinking, man, this is like the opposite of Moon Knight, dude. He's really dragging it down, bro. But you can't do it without it.
But at least they didn't CG his cloak.
Yeah, right. So you in the cloak. They brought back what's her name? From the original movie, Wally. I forget her first name. But she was in that, plus Navy SEALs at the time. So they brought her back in the first episode, I think. So that was kind of nice, that continuity. Who else was in that movie?
Willow? Val Kilmer was in it.
Yeah, Val Kilmer. Obviously, we haven't seen Val Kilmer. I know, obviously he's been dealing with health issues and stuff, so we haven't seen him. I don't know if he's going to be in it. It'd be kind of nice if he was, but again, it's they allude to the character and stuff within the series. So I'm optimistic it'll be good, but we'll see. So that's what I'm throwing out there because it's fairly new.
Haven't seen Willow yet, but I want to revisit the movie first. That was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. But I
really enjoyed it too.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since I was a kid, so I've been wanting to get into that one. His Dark Materials, I did watch the first season of that, and I just haven't gotten back to it. But I did like it because I really liked The Golden Compass, and I never read the books that it was based on, so I was excited for more of that. And then, of course, that didn't happen. So I was really excited that they were doing this. So I've watched the first season and I really enjoyed it, but I didn't watch anything else. And John,
I didn't know at first. Yeah, when I started watching it, I didn't know at first it was connected to Golden Compass until she whipped it out, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold up, time out. I don't always read that, read the synopsis or anything. I just go, So I'm that audience for you movie makers out there. Yeah, I'm really, the trailer plus the picture that you pick that goes up on Netflix or HBO or whatever. Yeah, that has a heavy influence on me. I'm going to tell you straight up. The words, not so much. Not so much.
Hey, Jay, I actually have the award right here.
Oh, yeah, let's see that.
Yeah, it like lights
Join us on Monday night. Please join us on Monday night on The Experience, 6 p.m. Eastern, and we will do the official Robbie presentation for his award.
We've done so many of these official things already. It's really cool, dude. It lights up and it changes colors, and it's really cool.
The only official one that matters is the one on my show, bud.
That's
right?
true, man. That's true, Rex. That's true.
Oh, you know what? For Monday, make sure you get a black background so we can see how it changes colors.
Just yeah, I'll try to work that out. I do got one honorable mention, and that is Legacy, which is a docuseries on Hulu about the history of the Los Angeles Lakers, but it has a big focus on the Buss family as well as the Lakers history from the Showtime era to today, basically, to the 2019 championship or 2020 championship, right? So it was really good. And if you're a Lakers fan, you're going to love it. Even if you're just a fan of basketball and a cool sports story, I think it's definitely worth checking out. But that's the documentary series on Hulu, Legacy. I think it's called the true story of the Los Angeles Lakers or whatever. But it really gets into Jerry Buss and Jeannie Buss and all that kind of back stuff with the family. And it's a really, really good series. So I would highly recommend anybody.
Never gonna watch it. Never gonna watch it. Hate the Lakers. Never gonna watch it. I was alive during that period of time. I am still alive. Don't need no documentary.
What would you be more likely to ever watch? Would it be The Crown or Legacy?
Ooh, that's a good one,
Robbie.
What
do you hate more, the Royals or the Lakers?
I'm more than likely to watch the Royals. That's how much seething hatred I have for the Los Angeles Lakers.
That's all right. We lost our last two straight, so you should be happy. It's all good. Yeah, I know.
paying Mercedes prices for a Yugo.
Hey, that's what happens sometimes, man. Yeah. All right. Well, this has been a great show. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in the chat. Some great recommendations from the chat, some great discussion. Rex, thanks for joining us. What's coming up for you guys?
Well, obviously, tonight's Friday, so Nick will be on the Experience at 7 p.m. Eastern with his original art show. Of course, Robbie and I will be back with our buddy John Cole on Monday night, 6 p.m. on the Experience for our Comic Collectibles show. And we're going to be doing our official Robbie Award presentation on that evening, so don't miss it. And just remind everybody, finally, after so many years of work, Gargoyles came out for Dynamite Entertainment Wednesday, New Comic Book Day. So check it out. Check it out. Great read. It's been one of the most popular titles for the year of 2022, I believe, from information we got from Diamond and a couple other sources. But other than that, thanks everybody for joining us. It's always a great time. I love doing this show. I told Robbie, because I don't know what the topic's going to be until the morning of. And it's always an interesting one. And somehow we always go over the half hour. We are now 47 minutes into the show.
And Nerdtastic, once again with the super chat, thank you. What did the Lakers do to you? Was it tied to Batgirl?
What did the Lakers do to me? I can tell you what the Lakers did to me. Very simple. I'm a Philadelphia Sixers fan. They have been our nemesis since I was little. Okay, I'll never forget the 1983, baby. That was the team. Moses Malone, Julius Erving. That was a team. But hate the Lakers. Absolutely despise them. And they took Will Chamberlain too.
Yeah, I can take on that. Thank you everybody out there in the chat for joining us. I hope everybody has a great weekend. And great covers for Gargoyles for sure. I got the Jay Lee one right there. I had to get the Jay Lee. I love Jay Lee so much. All right. Tomorrow night, Dylan's Horror Show. You're next. That's a really good movie, y'all. I'm excited to chat about it. And then Monday night, PCP Movie Night, the final PCP Movie Night of the year. We're continuing our look at Christmas movies, some of my favorite Christmas movies, with Batman Returns, which is another great movie. So thank you all for being here. Awesome. Exactly, right? So just remember that mistletoe can be poisonous if you eat it, but a kiss can be deadly if you mean it.